Hi, this is Chris, chap in the cap from Motolegends. Today I'm going to review a suit from Rukka, from Finnish brand Rukka. It's the Coriace, and it's a rather special and unique suit because as far as I know, it's the only 3-layer laminated leather suit on the market. Now, if you've seen some of our other reviews, I hope you'll appreciate that our angle is to try to be as honest and objective as we can. We're not here just to regurgitate a press release from the manufacturer. We look at garments, we live with them, and then we try to give you our honest view. We do get into a lot of trouble with the manufacturers and importers because they do not like it when we say things about their garments that are in some ways derogatory. I get personally a lot of stick, I get a lot of phone calls, and that's at times when I really like a garment, but they just don't like the fact that I'll come out and say, well, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. I think I'm going to have a particular problem with the Coriace because I'm not sure I buy into the concept. I acknowledge that it's a work of art, it's a masterpiece, technically it is out of this world, but I question the need for the suit, I question its wearability and so on, so I think this is going to be a challenging review. And what I know is, within minutes of this going out on YouTube, I am going to receive a phone call from the importer who's going to tear me off a strip. So anyway, let's go for it, let's see what we think to the Coriace. So this is the Rukka Coriace. Technically, I think it should be known as the Rukka Coriace R. It is that very rare commodity, a laminated leather suit. In fact, I think this is almost unique. I'm aware of one other laminated leather suit on the market. That was a 2-layer laminate. This is a 3-layer laminate. One of the first things to mention is that this is one of those very rare garments where Rukka is not working with gauze. So the membrane here, this isn't a pro-shell garment, it's not a Gore-Tex membrane. Rukka have gone elsewhere. No issues with that. This suit's been out for a while. Not heard any reports of any water ingress, any leaking, so I think it works perfectly well, but Gore is not involved with this suit. Now, in terms of lamination, just in case there are people out there, and I'm sure there are, who don't understand what lamination is, how it differs in terms of a waterproofing construction to drop liner. So there are two forms of construction. Drop liner is the system you find on 90%, 95% of motorcycle garments. And basically you get an outer fabric for protection, for abrasion resistance, a cordura or some similar nylon. And inside you get a independently hanging waterproof membrane, which is why it's called a drop liner. Now, works perfectly well. In very heavy rain, what happens is water comes in through this outer fabric, it seeps into it, it makes the fabric heavy, but it can't reach the body because the membrane has millions of tiny holes that the water can't get in, so you stay dry. But in a drop liner garment, over time, and I'm talking 3, 4, 5 hours rain, the jacket can get heavy. It reaches a status that we call wet out, where it's heavy, it can make you feel cold if you're riding along at 70 miles an hour in the rain, and when you've stopped riding, then it can take a long while to dry out because it holds so much water. The supposedly superior form of waterproofing is known as lamination, and what they do with lamination, they take the membrane and they heat seal or bond it onto the outer fabric. Now, what that means is that even in heavy rain, water can't get in through this fabric because it's backed up by the membrane. So the outer fabric stays drier for longer, dries out much more quickly when you stop riding. It is a better way of staying dry depending on your circumstances. It's not necessarily right for the average motorcyclist who's doing 3, 4, 5,000 miles a year, but if you're doing a lot of riding in the rain, if you are often finding yourself in that condition where you are out for 2, 3, 4 hours and it's raining hard, then lamination might be considered superior. It is often more expensive and it's often not quite as comfortable. So this is a laminated suit. It's a leather laminated suit, however, and my starting point is that leather's not the best outer fabric when you want to stay dry because leather's going to suck the rain in. I don't think it's a problem on this suit. In fact, we know it's not a problem on this suit because it's been out on the market for a while. We would have heard whether there were any issues with it. But leather's not the greatest starting point. But as the membrane is backed on to the leather, then this suit is not going to reach that situation that I've mentioned, which is wetting out, because the membrane is going to stop that much water being absorbed into the material. What this suit has, a little point of detail, because clearly when you buy a laminated suit, you're buying it to stay bone dry. You do not want water getting in anywhere. This is a water resistant zip here, not a waterproof zip. So they have a second zip here and a kind of storm guard on the inside with a channel down here. So that's not a thermal liner, that's just a second jacket. This is also waterproof. It's just another way of making sure that water cannot reach the body. In terms of wearability, whenever you've got a jacket with a membrane, you are risking a situation where in hot weather, you're going to get a little bit warm. And it's made even worse in some ways when you have a laminated membrane because the fabric is stiff, it's quite heavy, and the end result is you can feel quite warm. So what this jacket has, it has two things. It's got perforations throughout, all down the front, all down the back, all down the arms. This is about as perforated a material as you can find. But what we've got, and this is Rukka's favourite way of doing venting, they've got full-length vents up the sides here. Now, Rukka's view is that in the olden days, vents in the middle of the chest works really well, but with a lot of people riding bikes with screens, they're big into GS riders, and a GS often has a big screen in front. The air cannot get into those vents. So they like the idea of these vents being up the side. You can adjust them from the top or the bottom. Air comes around the screen, hits the side of the body, causes air to run around the body. So that's quite a common system these days for Rukka, but you combine that with the perforations, and I think you have a jacket that's going to be reasonably well vented when it gets hot. In terms of the cold, it comes with a thermal liner. I've got to say it's not a particularly impressive thermal liner. It's about as light as you would expect. This isn't a jacket that I think you're often going to get cold in, because of course the other thing about a membrane is a waterproof membrane is a windproof membrane. I think this is going to be a warmed jacket to wear. If you were riding right through the winter in the very coldest conditions, then you might want to supplement it. You might want to take this thermal out and put something better in. You could put heated in, but that's for someone who's going to be doing pretty extreme miles, I think. In terms of some of the other features, I'm just going to go through them. You've got this neck collar. This is really useful. It does a couple of things. It's going to stop cold air getting in, so it keeps you warm here. But the other thing is when rain comes down around the helmet and tries to get inside the jacket, this is a kind of a neoprene material. It catches the rain, it stops it running inside the jacket. In the summer, to tell the truth, you would just get rid of it because it's going to flap around. It's not going to be of any use. Do not use this because Rukka could never replace them. In terms of pockets, you've got two external pockets. These are both waterproof because the membrane is on the outer surface, so water's not going to get inside those. You've got one pocket on the inside. You've also got another pocket on the thermal liner itself. In terms of adjustability, you've got a two-position adjuster for the hem, and on the sleeves, you've got only one popper, but it's a nice wide opening sleeve. That's a really big gusset, so if you want to wear a really thick glove underneath there, I don't think you'll have any issues with that. In terms of comfort, because this is, A, it's a leather garment, and B, it's laminated, so it's going to be stiff, it's going to be heavy. It's never going to be the most comfortable suit that you're going to wear. But what Rukka have done, they've supplemented it with stretch areas. Mentioned up here, this is where the vents are, but that's a great big stretch panel there. You've got stretch inside here. You've got accordion panels around the back. You've got stretch in the shoulders. You've got accordion on the sleeves. So they've done everything they can to make this a wearable jacket when you're on the bike. In terms of armour, it comes with D3O's vented LP1 armour, and that comes as standard in the shoulders and the elbows. The back is fitted as standard with what they call an air full back. It's a level 2 protector. So in terms of protection, you're going to be as protected in this suit as anything else. Now, I'm going to come back later and I'm going to talk about the benefits of textiles versus leather, because I think it's very germane to this suit. But if what you're bothered about is what's going to protect you when you go sliding down the road, this suit is as good as it gets. Now, Rukka do not submit their gear to the standard EN 17092 test, so I can't tell you whether it's an A, AA, or a AAA. They have another way of achieving that accreditation, but we've spoken with Rukka. They tell us that this is about as good as it's ever going to get. So I would feel confident in saying this is going to deliver the protection that you would expect from any garment that is rated as AAA. In terms of the pants, they're similar to the jacket in terms of construction. It's the same leather, it's the same laminated membrane, it's the same D3O armour. You've got adjusters on the waist. Obviously, there's a full-length zip, so you can adjust you can connect the trousers to the jacket. You've got accordion stretch here in the knees, and you've got stretch panels up the back. So pretty much a mirror of the jacket. You've also got the thermal liner and so on. And as a suit, it's furiously expensive. It's Rukka, so you wouldn't expect it to be anything other than expensive, but this is technology that's right out there. It's leading edge. No one is able to create a suit like this, so it was never going to be cheap. The jacket is £1,000. The trousers are £870, so nearly 1,900 quid for a suit. But if you want to wear leather, and if you want absolute waterproofing, then there's no other choice out there. There are leather suits out there with membranes, but because they are drop liner membranes, they are going to get really heavy in heavy rain. The water's going to soak in. They're not going to do the job that this does. So if you're someone who just believes in leather, you only want to ride in leather, but you ride all year round, this is a suit you've got to look at. It is a technical tour de force. It's a masterpiece. I'm now going to come on. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to sit on the bike. We're going to look at it, because if there's an issue with this suit, it's about its wearability. It's about what it's like to live with this on a long-term basis. So I've got the Coriace R suit on. I've got to say, it's not the most uncomfortable suit I've ever worn. I can't think what was less comfortable, but it's certainly rideable. But I suppose I go back to questioning, why would anyone buy this suit? Who's going to benefit from a suit like this? What it feels to me like is a bit of old-fashioned gap analysis that marketeers used to do. The prime example in the marketing world is there are lovers of hot tea and there are lovers of cold tea. So someone comes up with the idea of, why don't we do warm tea? Now, when you do gap analysis, you end up with ridiculous scenarios like that just don't work, that create a product that no one wants. And that's what I feel has potentially happened here. There are leather suits and there are laminate suits. And someone's thought, why don't we bring them both together? And I wonder who is going to benefit from a laminated leather suit. Now, I've gone over already the waterproofing qualities of a laminate construction, but you are going to be more waterproof, technically, I think, in a textile laminated suit. You're certainly going to be more comfortable. There are some people who just love leather. They just want to ride in leather. And certainly, as I'm wearing this suit, I do feel a little bit impregnable. I feel as though if I went down the road, this is going to be a very safe suit, and certainly it is. But we have a particular take on road safety and clothing, which is that there are two routes you can go. You can create a safe, comfortable environment by wearing the right gear. So in our view, that would be to wear a textile suit of a certain sort to make sure that you never got too hot, that you never got too cold, and you never got too wet. The view being that if you're comfortable on the bike, you're always going to be riding safely. A suit like this, I don't think in a lot of circumstances you're going to be feeling comfortable. I think you will get hot in this suit. I don't think you'll get wet. In terms of cold, I suppose that depends on the thermal liners you put underneath it, but this is a suit that's going to get ever less comfortable the more you put underneath it. So what we've got with the Coriace R is a scenario where if you come off, you are very well protected. But personally, I think we prefer the view that you should kit yourself out with gear that makes it less likely that you'll have an accident than to assume that you're going to have an accident and buy the best gear for having an accident. Because I think this suit, you're more likely in some ways to have an accident in this suit because it's less comfortable for riding. It's a view we have here. It's not a view that's necessarily shared by everybody. And I don't want to deny in any way the protective qualities of leather. Leather is the most abrasion resistant material you can have on a motorcycle outfit. I would say that if you're on a circuit, there's nothing else for it. If you're going to come off at high speed and slide down the road, you want to be able to slide for 20, 30 meters, and in leather you can do that. But that actually very rarely happens when you're on the road. You tend to slide a little bit, roll. You don't slide for long distances. So in fact, I think at times a suit like this, impregnable as it feels, doesn't actually achieve much on the road. You do not need anything that's quite as strong and robust and able to slide as far as a suit like this does. So that's it. This is the suit. It feels okay, as I've mentioned. I don't think it's the most flattering suit, but what I wanted to do was get on the bike, because at times what happens with a suit might feel uncomfortable when you're walking around, and certainly this is a suit I wouldn't want to go shopping in, but when you get onto the bike, it can all come into place, and I just want to see how this feels when we're actually on the bike. So let's have a go. I think, oh! Okay, don't worry, I've got another idea. So I'm sure that was totally my fault, but being a little bit on the height challenge side, I was finding it difficult in a suit that was as strong and rigid as this to get on the bike. But I've found a solution. I don't think I'm going to have any more problems. Just bear with me a second. Yep, no problem. Anyway, joking aside, as I would expect, once you get on the bike, this suit feels fantastic. It does feel very reassuring in the way that you would always expect a leather suit to do. So on the bike, not a problem. It's still not the kind of suit that I think you'd want to go touring in if you were somewhere in the middle of France or the south of France on a hot day. This just isn't the kind of suit that you want to be wearing when you get off the bike and walk around town. I just think this is going to be unbearably hot and uncomfortable. But as we've discussed before, this is a suit that does a particular job. And if you're someone who just wants to ride in leather and you want the ultimate in terms of waterproofing and all year round usability, then there is no suit like this. It's going to be incredibly safe, and if it's comfortable on you, and the fact that it's not particularly comfortable on me doesn't mean it won't be comfortable on you, but if you can get comfortable in this suit, then I think it's a fantastic suit to ride in. Personally, I come back to why would someone ride in a suit like this? For me, I just cannot see any scenario in which I would rather ride in this than, for example, the Rukka Nivala. The Rukka Nivala is supremely comfortable. It's going to be, if anything, more waterproof, and my contention would be is that it's perfectly safe enough for the road. Leather is great for the track when you're sliding long distances, but that just doesn't happen on the road, and I think this is probably, if anything, overkill on the road. The other thing that you could do if you were someone who really wanted to ride all year round and only wanted to look at leather, there is a suit from Halvarsens that's called the Celtic suit with the C pant. That's a cowhide as well. It's a drop liner membrane. So in the heavy rain, it is going to absorb rain, so it will not be as good. But with the addition of say a Scott waterproof outer, I think that's £90 and maybe £80 out for the trousers, you can create the benefits of laminate because you're going to have an outer on top that is going to stop any rain soaking into the leather. So you're going to still have the levels of protection of a leather suit. That particular suit is AAA rated, AAA rated, so it's a very safe suit. It's got venting, it's beautifully comfortable to wear, and it's half the price of the Coriace. So that's our view. It's a great suit, it's a masterpiece, it's a work of art, but you've got to be sure that this is the suit you want. It's not a suit to be worn lightly. You make a commitment to a suit like this. You have to really want it, but if it's what you really want, then I think it's a great suit. So if you'd like to see more suits from Rukka, visit the website motolegends.com. To learn more about this particular suit, the Coriace, then if you click on one of the links on this screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you directly to the relevant page on our website. There you can check out the spec in a little bit more detail, you can check out availability, and if you really like the suit, you can buy one there and then. Now when you buy from us, we try to make the process as simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on anything you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something to us. We have the best price promise in the business. John Lewis is rightly famed for its never knownly undersold promise. We go one stage better. If you can find anyone selling anything that we sell at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that retailer's price by a full 10%. If the retailer is in the EU and not in the UK, we will match their landed price. Now there are a few terms and conditions, nothing particularly onerous, but if you are going to price beat us, I suggest you visit the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. If in the future you'd like to see bulletins from us about new products, then if you go to the website, at the top of every page there's a little bit of script that says newsletter sign up. Click on there and within seconds you'll be signed up, you'll receive bulletins from us in future. If, however, you prefer to get information about products videographically, in other words in this form, we would be simply delighted if you want to become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking on the button below. Now this is 2020, and during this year we're running a little promotion. We are giving away what we are calling a Steve McQueen tribute bike. It's based on a Mutt 125C machine. It's a little cutie, it's a wonderful bike. You can read more about it on the front page of our website or on the homepage of our YouTube channel. But in essence, we're going to give this bike away to a YouTube subscriber before the end of the year. Finally, I'd like to make a play for our little shop here in Guildford. We are based about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. The shop itself is small, it's got a small footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we've got £2 million worth of stock over 3 floors. It makes us technically the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the country. But we are far more than just about the amount of merchandise we have in the building. We are about service and we are about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. When you come and see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, if you're lucky, you may get one of... One second, I think I may have to take that. I'm sorry. Hi there, Chris Cotton. Hi, Mark. How are you? Oh, you've seen the review? Yeah, what did you think? Really? Oh, I've got to go. Anyway, well, okay, yep.